Welcome to One on One with the Physique Athlete, where we talk to competitive bodybuilders and allow athletes to tell their story from behind the stage. Today, we are talking with Jill McCoy. Jill, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Both of us, it sounds like, had a busy weekend. I was at GBO Genesis. You were doing an obstacle course race, from my understanding. Talk to us
Yeah.
about that. How did you place? Wait a minute. You were on stage 2 weeks ago. You and I met at the NFF Shredder. You were on stage 2 weeks ago, and then yesterday or this weekend you were doing an obstacle course race. Go for it. Talk
Yeah.
about it.
It was just so great to be back kind of with my people. And
Mhm.
last year with the pandemic, we haven't raced, and it just felt so amazing to be back on course. I had no idea how I would place, just because I did prep for the last 6 months for two shows and kind of dieted down and just spent the last 2 weeks kind of trying to improve my body a little bit, enough to
Yeah.
run an obstacle course race. I mean, it was a 5K, but still, I hadn't been running. But I placed first in my age group, 50 to 54. So I was super happy to do well. I felt good. It was a good day.
Very nice. So you placed first in your age group at the obstacle course race this past weekend. Now, the first weekend of March at the NFF Shredder, you also placed in bodybuilding in a completely different sport. What were your awards for that show?
So for the NFF show, I placed first in Masters, first in Novice, and first in Open.
Very nice.
And
Very
that
nice.
was my second show. My first
Hmm.
NFF show, but my second show overall.
Nice. And where was your first show?
My first show was the NPC Texas Cup
Okay.
up in Waco.
Okay. So I understand that the majority of your fitness career has been running obstacle course racing. Could you tell us how you transitioned from running to bodybuilding?
Um, uh, it was completely different.
Hmm.
Basically, I call myself a runner. For a long time, I didn't call myself a runner because I felt like a person who's a runner runs long distances and runs fast, and that
Hmm.
wasn't me. But I learned over time that just running every day, and or even jogging, makes you a runner. So I started calling myself a runner. But I probably transitioned to obstacle course racing around 2015, just wanting
Okay.
to challenge myself a little bit
Hmm.
more and push myself in other ways. I just kind of wanted more um, and I loved it. I got hooked that for probably 5 years, I guess. And then
Hmm. Hmm.
switching to bodybuilding was something else completely different, out of my comfort zone. Getting up on stage was really, really scary. Um, but I needed to kind of dial down my running to do it,
Hmm.
because I needed to work on building muscle, and my diet changed a lot.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
so
You
yeah.
mentioned before, when we spoke, you said changing your diet was scary to you. Why was it scary? Are the diets for, and I hate to say diet, but let's say the nutrition programming for an obstacle course runner and a competitive bodybuilder, are they different? Why was that scary to you, making that transition?
Well, it was scary to me because in my mind, for obstacle course racing, you need to be fast and strong, and
Okay.
those two things don't necessarily seem to go together. You know, being strong, you think you need to be big, but then to be fast, you want to be lean. So
Yeah.
you kind of
Yeah.
have to, I mean, so I was kind of trying to, keep my carbs kind of low,
Hmm. Hmm.
but when I started to transition to train for a show, my trainer, the first thing he asked me to do was increase my carbs and dial down the running. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to gain weight. Like, this is not going to work. This is opposite of how I've always thought about it.
Hmm.
And it just kind of blew my mind how my body responded. And it was just something completely different. And it intrigued me, though. I mean, I was like, wow, it's amazing what the human body is capable of and
Absolutely.
how much I still don't know, just
Hmm.
learning all the
Hmm.
time, learning.
So would you say that in comparison, the obstacle course nutrition and the bodybuilding nutrition is the plan that you need to get on stage, is that sustainable? We're eating for aesthetic, we're eating to look good, we're eating to maintain a look for a day, basically. Is that a sustainable choice? What are your thoughts on that, having experience in two sports?
I get asked a lot about my nutrition, and I'm so reluctant to, especially after the um, Texas Shredder. I got so
Yeah.
many messages about my nutrition, and I think people see a certain aesthetic and they want to know what that diet is, what that looks like, and I'm so reluctant to give advice on that just because everyone is different, and
Yes.
the my peak week diet is completely different from the person and everyone else who was on stage with me, completely different from each person's diet, and it's just not sustainable by
Hmm.
any, even by me. I mean, it's not a diet that I would stick to, and but it's to achieve an aesthetic. It's
Right.
not for performance. So I mean, I would say, you know when I was trying to improve my body for the race this weekend, I kind of did go back to, like an 8 week out plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that I did that. I went back to that diet that my trainer gave me, but I did kind of up my carbs a little
Hmm.
bit as like maybe 2 days before the race, I kind of upped my carbs even a little more than that.
And that's because you needed the energy, right? Is that what
Correct.
I'm
Yeah,
hearing
because
you
I
say?
needed the
Yeah.
energy for the
Hmm.
race. Um, that's the difference, is that
Yeah.
it's a performance sport versus an aesthetic.
Yes. Yes. And that means there's two different styles of eating for both of
Yeah,
those things.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice. What would you say about the competition? Talk to me about the competition. In obstacle course, in all sports, you're in competition with yourself. You're in competition with your best self, doing it better than you did at the NPC, Texas Cup, and then on Shredder, you were better than you were. That's your competition. But talk to me about the differences in competition between obstacle course racing and bodybuilding, where bodybuilding is a solo sport.
Yeah, obstacle course racing is a solo sport too, in that I think the
Hmm.
training, a lot of people train in groups, but I feel like it's you against you every day,
Yeah.
and you're just always trying to improve your PR, your best time, your, you know, best lift or whatever it is. I think that the competition always is with yourself, but I believe that, always, I think it's the camaraderie that I enjoy the most. And I feel like each sport kind of brings its
Hmm.
own sense of community with it. And I just love that. Other people just inspire me to push myself further. And um, I just love that aspect of each sport. And
Hmm. Hmm.
when you're an athlete, and you feel good, I feel like it's conducive to um, wanting to try new things and meet new people in that respect, and just kind
Yes.
of bring them into the sport and encourage them to join, to learn more about it. And
Yes. Yes. So introvert to introvert, I have to dig a little deeper here. Introvert to introvert, I mean, I absolutely love when we do these interviews, and folks show up with baseball caps on, like, don't look at me now, I'm in my baseball cap, but then 2 weeks ago I saw you, and then in 2 weeks I'll see you, and you have on glitter and shine and glaze. And how, as an introvert, because that was a challenge for me, how do you take off the baseball cap? How do you shift, because a shift does have to happen, let's be quite honest. How do you shift into stage presence,
it's hard. That was the
yeah.
hardest part for me. I mean, honestly, I could do the diet and train. I mean, of course, the diet was hard. That was mentally way harder than I anticipated.
Yes.
It was hard, but getting on stage, I mean, it made me a little nauseous, to be honest. And even the second show, same thing. That first time out on stage, it's super nerve-wracking. And but as soon as you do it the first time, then you start to feel better about it. But I almost feel like when you get the tan and the makeup and you get the suit on, it's like you're in your uniform.
That's right.
And it's almost like I feel like I'm playing a role, like I'm playing a part, I'm acting a part, and it's like someone else almost.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. How important would you say it is to have good coaching to get you through the process? I heard you say, I kind of went back to my 8-week diet for obstacle course racing this past weekend, but I had a different diet for a few weeks ago at the NFF Shredder. So how important is your coach and communication with your coach through the process?
Communication is key, and your coaching is paramount. I mean, there is no way that I could have gotten through it without my coach. We had daily communication, and kind of, I don't like to look at a number on a scale and think of that as being achieving a certain number being success.
Sure.
But we are trying to achieve a certain aesthetic, and the only way to track it is to see progress on the scale. And there are so many things that kind of play into that, that your coach can talk you through, and you can try to figure out together a lot of things that I didn't know and that I'm sure I still don't know. But hormones can play a part. Stress level can come into play. There are so many things to look at if you become frustrated, because I get frustrated if you're following the plan, you're doing the workouts, and then to see the scale not moving, you kind of feel like, what's going on? What's wrong? What am I doing wrong? And so he was great about coaching me through those things. And so having, and also kind of feeling like I had someone going through it with me, because it is such an individual sport. I am an introvert, but I enjoyed that one-on-one. And that training time, I trained with him twice a week. He wrote workouts for me 5 days a week. I trained actually with him 2 of those days, and just having that hour with him.
Yes.
For being an introvert, I think I just like the whole time. But he was great, listened, and we had to get pretty comfortable and talk about some sort of awkward things, being a woman, but you have to be comfortable and trust your coach. And from day one, I trusted him with the let's up your carbs and don't run so much. And I went, but I did it and it worked. And I was like, okay, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. In the book, I talk about how much of a relationship having a coaching relationship. It's a coach-client dynamic, sure, but it is a relationship, and you have trust, and you have frustrations with each other, and you have all the elements of a relationship with that. What advice would you give to a female athlete who may be a little bit apprehensive about having a male coach?
I think that in some ways it's better, just because I felt like he kind of kept me straight. I think sometimes us girls, maybe we get, maybe I felt like I was getting in my head, and he kind of kept me focused, like, okay, you can do this. You train for this. So I think in some ways he kept me straight. Husband kept me straight. So
I love it.
It was great having them both having my back. So.
That's great advice. Kind of, it helps keep us balanced. That's what I hear you saying.
That's right.
That's what I hear you saying. Awesome. Well, Jill, I certainly appreciate you doing this and doing it at 50. I am approaching 40, and for every time I talk to a competitor over 50, I'm just, I'm over the moon and saying, you know what, girl, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You don't have to get old. This is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, no, nope. I feel like as soon as I stop moving, that's when I get old.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, I mean, if they say you're too old to do that, screw that.
That's right.
If you feel good and you feel like doing it, and you've got the means to do it, and your family is with you, then go for it.
Absolutely.
Why not? I think, uh, yeah, I feel like as long as I keep moving, I feel, and if I feel good about myself, it kind of is more conducive to trying new things and challenging myself in different ways. Um,
Very
I just,
nice.
yeah,
Very nice. And would you say also keeping your mind sharp?
yeah, absolutely. Learning. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that I kind of do get a little, I nerd out a little bit with
Yes,
the
yes.
with the bikini. I mean, as soon as I started reading about it, and at first my husband had suggested preparing for a bikini competition. I thought, oh, that's not for me. I don't know. And then I thought, well, we just have a lot of that going on today in the world. People not
Hmm.
really wanting to understand what something's about, but kind of judging it from the outside. And I thought, no, I'm going to check into it. I'm going to look at this. And I thought, these ladies, they work
Yes.
hard, and this, I
Hmm.
don't know if I can do it. So I just kind of dove in, and I was intrigued. I just listened to podcast after podcast, and drove everybody around me crazy, because
That's right.
I eat, sleep, and breathe, the prep life. And
Hmm.
I just kind of get super laser focused on things. And um yeah.
That's fantastic. Jill, thank you for spending some time with me, and thank you for giving advice to the people who will watch and who will listen to this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And I want to rep my coach, Kevin Graves, V3 Training. He is amazing, the best.
Where can we find him on IG? Does he have IG, Facebook? Where do we go to find him?
You can find him on Instagram at V3_training, I believe, is his handle.
Very nice.
His Kevin Graves. I think he's on Facebook as Kevin Graves or V3 Training.
Very nice. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you
This
so much.
is absolutely, absolutely, Jill. This is One on One with the Physique Athlete. This is Jill McCoy. You can find Jill McCoy on IG at Jill Lynn McCoy. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Chat soon.
Thank you.